Okay, perfect. Welcome back to everybody. Our next session here will be Streamlined Diplomas with Parchment. My name is Ross Mell, and I'll be the moderator for this particular session. Our presenter today is Andrea. He is a regional manager at Parchment. He's worked with institutions all across the country to help provide their office and learners with an efficient and innovative credentialing experience. It looks like this session here will be basically an overview, in-depth look into Parchment's diploma services, everything from the administrative side of what students will see, covering electronic diplomas, as well as what it will look like for your office to send diplomas through Parchment. And if you have any questions, any kind of questions to present, just put them in the chat and I'll present them later after the presentation's over. So without further ado, here's the presentation.
Great. Well, thank you for the introduction, and thanks everybody for taking the time today to join this presentation. I know there's another really good session going on with Michelle and Dustin from Rose State College right now, so I appreciate you taking the time to join this one. But before we get started, I appreciate that introduction, Ross. I wanted to introduce myself as well. My name is Andrea. I'm a regional manager here at Parchment. I've worked at Parchment for right around 3 years now, and I'll obviously be the presenter of this session. So once again, thank you for joining the call and taking some time to learn more about diploma services. So to start off, I'll just quickly walk through the agenda of our call today. Really the first portion is going to be a few housekeeping items. Then I'll spend some of the time just a general overview of Parchment diploma services, everything from budgets to a few unique features that really show why Parchment stands out in the digital credential industry. But then I'll spend the majority of the time actually walking you through the administrative side, the student side, so you can see what that looks like or what it would look like for your office to send diplomas from Parchment and from the student side as well. And then, as Ross mentioned, we'll save the last couple of minutes to answer any questions as well. So to get started, those housekeeping items, if any questions do come up throughout this, feel free to use the chat function. I actually do think this is a small enough group to just come off mute and ask a question as I go. So feel free to do that. That's perfectly fine as well. And if you do have any suggestions for webinar topics that you'd like to see, feel free to email us at info@parchment.com and consider signing up for our blog to stay up to date for any future webinars and webinars that are actually coming out at this time. So to switch gears here and to hop into it, let's dive into kind of just a general overview of the Parchment platform. There's really a large number of reasons institutions are looking for a comprehensive platform. And we've noticed a lot of those big reasons have related to them wanting to actually provide a more modern student experience and the ability to actually manage their credentials in one place for students and administrators alike. But this seems to be something institutions have always wanted or needed, and with COVID, it just made it so much more apparent for a lot of schools, a lot of institutions, that having their records in one place can make life just so much easier for them and their students. Of course, when you talk about these things, budget is always something that has to be taken into consideration. And it's a big topic in the past year, almost 2 years now, which is kind of crazy to think about for many reasons, obviously, but many states and schools have seen budget cuts across the board. And you guys are being just asked to do a lot more with a lot less. And here at Parchment, we acknowledge and understand that that's happening. I would say one silver lining about the pandemic, if I can even say that at all, is that registrar offices across the country have had to kind of take a step back and examine and reevaluate their services to students. And what some of them ultimately found were ways to be more efficient and actually streamline their services for students and themselves. So with that budget topic in mind, Parchment offers a zero-cost solution to institutions who actually want to bundle transcripts and diplomas together, which I'll talk just about in a minute here. But it's important to note that for institutions who don't like the idea of bundling transcripts and diplomas for whatever reason, let's say your diploma budget is separate than your transcript budget and you want to keep those separate. In that case, we offer a prepay model where the institution has the option of actually covering the cost for students. And for transcripts, you can do the same as well if you don't charge students for transcripts today. But let's pretend for a second that you did want a zero cost solution for students. How that would look is students pay a fee when they actually order the transcript at that time of checkout. And that transcript fee is designed to cover the cost of transcripts and diplomas just based off of your expected diploma volume as well as your transcript volume, which, as you can imagine, with many institutions we work with, can save their office resources when it comes to actually covering that cost of handling and printing transcripts and diplomas. So something Parchment takes a lot of pride in, and something we hear a lot of students and administrators say, is that our platform has a very modern feel to it. And obviously with that modern feel, that has modern applications. For example, I was just talking to Texas State University yesterday, and she said, she was asking the question along the lines of, how many students are actually interested in digital diplomas? How many students are actually interested in receiving a digital transcript? And we actually recently surveyed students on their interest in having a digital diploma, and in addition to their print diploma that they receive. And we found that about 82% of students said they would actually be interested in having a digital diploma alongside their printed diploma. And that, of course, raises a few questions. What does interested actually mean to a student? What would they see as the biggest areas of value for a digital credential? And we constantly hear from students, a few of the main things are instant access to the diplomas, as well as the actual ability to store their diploma digitally and share their diploma to sites like LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter, just sharing that milestone out. And on that note, something new and exciting about digital diplomas that I just touched on is that ability for them to share to those sites like LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter, which really lets them, show their network as well as brand visibility for the institution of this huge milestone. And before I dive into actual examples of students who have shared their digital diplomas, I want to show you what the credential library actually looks like. So if you can see to the right of your screen, the student's credential library, it allows them lifelong learner access to all their credentials, right? So everything they've earned through Parchment is going to be there in one place. That just helps them later on when they're developing, 10 years goes down the line, and if they need to log in and access any of the digital credentials that they've received, they can do that. If they want to reorder a printed, they could also do that as well. And as mentioned, here are a few examples of students who have shared their digital diplomas on LinkedIn. So in real time, you can actually do this search yourself. If you go to LinkedIn and type in Parchment diplomas, you can see all the students who are actually sharing their diplomas or their certificates online. And one thing to note here is that a student's digital diploma is identical to the one that we print and mail, which I'll be able to touch on in the actual demonstration and the walkthrough. But this really gives them, something tangible on the day they graduate while they wait for the mailed diploma. So at this time, I'd like to transition over to the actual Parchment platform, show you what that looks like for administrators and students to actually receive diplomas. So as I mentioned, feel free to ask questions. I'll take a few breaks in between to see if there are any questions as well. So this is the actual dashboard where you can begin issuing out diplomas. So here I can see any previously issued diplomas. I can see I have my undergraduate diplomas as well as my graduate. There's some information in here, how many students these were actually issued to, how many claimed, which I'll show you what that means in a second, how many share those to sites like LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter, and then how many actually printed those diplomas. Of course, when they print them on their own, they're going to be watermarked, but it will show you that information as well. So I'm going to go ahead and start issuing a batch of diplomas. And when I begin that issue process, I get to decide whether I send those electronically or electronic and print. So for the purpose of this, I'll show you what it looks like to send both electronic and print. And then from there, you have the option of delivering to the institution. Let's say if you have commencement in person, which isn't happening much right now. But if you do want to deliver directly to the students, which most institutions do, you can do that as well. And then here you can choose the template, right? So what we earlier we saw that there's two different diploma types. So here, this institution has an undergraduate diploma and a graduate diploma. Parchment actually collects your sample diplomas and will be able to match and recreate those diplomas. So here, you're just selecting what group of students you want to issue those to. So how the actual upload itself works is we'll take a roster file of your students, or an Excel file of your students' roster information. So things like first name, last name, anything pertinent that's actually going to go on the diploma itself. So you'll upload that Excel file. Once you upload that, you can give that a name to address, come back for later, and really just save and continue. And here's where we're going to actually map the columns. So this is all unique and custom per the institution, but we want to make sure we have a few things right? First name, last name, middle name, if you want to select that as a requirement when sending out diplomas. Email, of course, we need an email to know where this diploma is going to. What degree type, honors, other things of that nature as well. From here, you'll save and continue. And it'll do a quality check, just making sure that everything looks okay here. It looks like all 40 looked okay, but if there were an issue, we could go back to that Excel file, make any corrections as we see fit. And then I will save and continue. And this is really where you have the opportunity to craft a message to the students, letting them know that their digital diploma is ready to be accessed, and their printed diploma is about 7 to 14 business days out. That's when Parchment will actually go through that process of shipping that out to the student. So once you have that information inputted, this is what the actual student will see. You'll get a preview of what that student will see and how they can actually access that digital diploma here. From there, you can individually review, going down the diplomas, each diploma, making sure everything looks okay. And you can view in full size if you need to, or you can view that information below that's on the actual diploma. And you're going to have 3 options at the top here. Let's say you're busy, you had something come up. If you want to save and issue these later, you can do that. If you want to schedule an issue date, you also can do that, or issue now to begin processing those printed and immediately send that digital diploma copy out to the student. So let's go ahead and schedule an issue date. I'm selecting May 30th of 2020, which is in the past, but we'll pretend that it's 2022 in this scenario. So once I schedule that issue date, I can see the in-progress diplomas, the ones I scheduled for May 30th to be released at 2 p.m. Eastern. And then I can see any previously issued. You might ask, what would be the benefit of scheduling an issue date? Some examples would be actually wanting to get ahead. Let's say you want to get ahead of the curve and just begin processing that batch of diplomas earlier. Another example of something I've seen is Texas A&M Corpus Christi. They had commencement and they scheduled that issue date during commencement. So all their students received their digital diploma during commencement. I commend them for that. That's not, it doesn't sound like the easiest thing to do, to schedule that at that right time. It could be a nightmare. I see Kristen shaking her head on that. So I completely understand, but there is other value to using that as well. So next up is the student section, but I'll pause there, see if there's any questions about the administrative portion or administrative side of issuing diplomas. Great. Well, let me know if you do have any questions as we go on. So here, I'm going to go through the student side, starting with tracking and notification for those printed diplomas. So in addition to the message that we just crafted for the student's going to receive a separate message from Parchment, letting them know that their diploma is on its way. This is when we've actually shipped the diploma, so they can be able to actually trace where that diploma is at. We'll send them that email, that notification. They can click for more delivery information. They'll be logged into their Parchment account if they already have one. If they don't, I'll show you in a second. We just need a few steps of information on password to get them logged into that account. So from My Orders tab, they can see that this diploma is being shipped. They have their document ID if they want to be able to trace this. You can see this order is coming from USPS, but we also use FedEx as one of our couriers, so that's an option as well. And then from here, here's the message that we actually crafted to the student earlier, just letting them know that they can claim their digital diploma and that their printed diploma is on its way to them. So if they click that link and they don't have a Parchment account, we'll just have them sign up with a password have them retype that password, and here they can actually access their digital diploma. When they actually log in, we're going to give them a tour of what they can do with their digital diploma. So here they can download this and save this as a secure PDF for later, which will download to their computer. And then this is what that actual electronic version of the diploma will look like. A few things to note is it's blue ribbon certified, meaning if the student does try to tamper with this, it's going to be voided. There'll be a red X here rather than this blue symbol. So you can see all the signatures that are the same as the printed diploma, the seal that we copy to match the printed diploma, as well as a unique URL right here where the student can share that out to as many people as they would like to share that out to. And from here, they can share also, in addition to LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter, directly from their student account. So they would just need to click one of those icons that we have APIs set up with and add an update and share those. This is an example of what that would look like. And the reason we did this, just a little bit of background, is because we noticed a lot of students were taking photos of their diploma, posting those to those sites, either just low resolution or diploma in hand. So we figured we might as well give them that ability to do that directly from Parchment. And more on that shareable link if they wanted to copy here and send that to any employers, anybody else that they would like to send their electronic diploma to. So in addition to something that's a little different from the electronic diploma, in addition to the printed diploma, is you can actually add more data, metadata to this diploma. With printed, you're limited. You can only attach, send out so much paper in the mail. So here you can actually add a course description, prerequisites, any overview, curriculum or research that was done to actually acquire this diploma. So here is the student's Parchment account. We're in Jessica Cumberland's account right now, which is not a real student, so don't worry, we're not looking at any of her information going off of FERPA. But Mount Elbert University, you can see that she graduated here with her diploma, West Valley Community College, her certificate, and Apple Tree High School, her transcript. So it really lays like a timeline of her credentialing past and her credentialing experience. So from the My Orders tab, she can see any of those open orders that we looked at previously. She can trace where that's at in the process, and then also see any previous orders that she's ordered here, like her certificate or her transcript. If she does need to reorder those, she can also do that here as well. And then from My Account, this is where the student can actually update their information if they need to change a mailing address or any contact information. If they wanted to add a secondary email, they can do that as well, or change your password. A lot of institutions' emails expire. So if she did want a secondary email there, she could do that. And then from privacy settings, we're just letting her know that we don't sell her information to third parties and showing her some information that she may have shared in the past. For example, her diploma to LinkedIn and Facebook, and it looks like she posted her certificate to Twitter. So that is the student side, and I'll stop there. This next portion is kind of just advanced administrative features, additional things like revising, revoking, which you can do for electronic diplomas. It's a lot different than printed, but I wanted to see if there's any questions about that student side. Great. Well, I will continue. So here we have that ability to actually perform bulk action tasks and look into this information a little bit more. So if I want to see, how many students these were issued to, how many actually claimed and shared and printed these, I can actually click on those tabs to get a breakdown and a drop down of what dates these diplomas were sent, how many students these were actually issued to, out of how many students actually perform these actions. So I can get more in depth and actually see who shared these and what they shared these to. So from here, if I want to do a bulk action search for a group of students, I could do that search by first name, last name, let's say student ID as well. I typed in about 8-9 student IDs right here. So I'm going to go ahead and do a search for those students in bulk. And then from here, I can see I have a bunch of students on hold. For this, I want to release the hold of those students. So I'm going to go ahead and select all at the top here, perform a bulk actions task, do a drop down and release those holds, and just confirm that I want to release the holds of those 10 students. And once I release those, it'll have that new issue date and begin sending those diplomas out. From here, if I want to do a search for a group of students, let's say I want to see how many students have actually opened their electronic diploma and how many have viewed or downloaded that electronic diploma. Here I can see this green column here, how many have actually claimed those. So I'm going to go ahead and do a search for students who haven't claimed those. And I'm going to go ahead and re-notify them to claim those. So I'll select all those students, perform another bulk actions task, and re-notify those students to actually claim and collect their digital diplomas. From here, we can get into revising and revoking. So if I want to go ahead and do a search for an individual student to revise their diploma, I can search for last name, first name, student ID, how we did earlier. Once I actually do that search, I'll search last name Abella. And then I pulled up David Abella's information here. So here's all his information about where the actual diploma is being sent to, and then the diploma itself that's already been issued. So here I want to update his information from the administrative side. Let's say the student calls in and wants that information updated. I'll click edit. I'll change his email here because that's the information that we want to change. He can also do that from his student account, but I'll update it from here. And then from here, I can actually preview that diploma from the administrative account. And let's say his mom was angry because he wanted his middle name on the diploma. In real time, you have the ability to actually edit that digital diploma that's already in David Abella's hands. So I'm going to change it from David Abella to David James Abella. I'm going to commit to these changes. And then I can view that one more time, just make sure everything looks good on this digital diploma. For any sites that he's posted that to, let's say he shared it to LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter, that's going to update in real time. And then from here, I want to do another search for last name Cumberland. And it's pulling up Jessica and her brother Zachary. So I want to go ahead and select Jessica here. And let's say I actually wanted to, in the unfortunate scenario that I actually wanted to revoke Jessica's diploma, I would hit this revoke at the very bottom here, and it'll ask me verify that I want to revoke this credential. And I'll verify that I'm doing that. It'll let me know that it's revoked. And then for what Jessica would see, anything posted online, that would actually just be voided, and it would be a blank document at that point. And from the Parchment account, if you do have any certificates that expired, it's very similar. So for example, Jessica has the West Valley Community College certificate. It looks like it has an expiration date. So we can see that here, expires on June 30th, 2020. Looks like it expired. And then it'll have an hourglass just letting know that this student credential has actually expired. So that is really the walkthrough of our, I see something in chat, but I'm going to go ahead and switch back here and see if anybody has any questions.
I do have a real quick one. You're talking about the holds on record. So basically, if somebody has basically an on hold, they owe a balance or something like that. That's kind of what that entails, right? Somebody, we hold a credential until that's resolved and then release it, and then it'll send off to them to upload the digital copy, correct?
Correct. Yes, exactly. So that's one of, in the actual Excel sheet that you upload, you have that option of adding a hold section. It would just be yes for, or Y for yes, N for no. And when those students holds are released, let's say your business office notifies you that those students holds are released, you can go in there and actually update those holds to release those digital diplomas. Yeah, good question.
I know on your transcript side, that is something that can be fed through from our SIS back and forth. Can that not be done with diplomas as well?
Good question. Yeah, really good question, actually. A pretty common question that I'm getting, and since we've been getting asked so frequently, We've actually talked to our product team, and it's something we're working on. We don't have any direct integrations right now, so it all come from an Excel file. But we're definitely working on that, and I wouldn't have any, date of where that would be live. I would imagine it would be a fairly long process, but yes, it is something we're working on.
I have a question as well. On the recipient information we use for Parchment, whenever I go to edit like their mailing address, it won't let those revisions be saved. Is this something that I should open a help ticket with Parchment for? And yeah.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, that was like the first part of my question.
Yeah, that's really interesting that it's not allowing you to do that. So when you're actually trying to update the student's mailing address or email, it's not.
It'll act like it's gonna take that information when I hit edit, and then once I add in the information and hit save revisions, it tells me that can't be done.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Oh no, you're fine. Sorry. What else were you saying?
And then the second part is on the issued awards of the actual physical diploma. We don't have the revoke button to revoke that diploma from going out.
Okay. Have you had a few where you've needed to revoke so far? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't heard of those issues, but I'm gonna go ahead and talk to your account executive.
Okay, that'd be great.
Yeah, we can support or submit a support ticket from the back end as well. But I believe your account executive right now, is it Chris Hart? I can look it up. I'll be able to find out, but I can get an answer to you on that.
Nancy Pope is.
Okay, Nancy Pope. Great.
Thank you, Janet. Her name escaped me.
Yeah, and I'll loop in the account executive and send an email after this so we can get that figured out for you.
Thank you so much.
Of course, no problem. Yeah, great question. Any other questions or?
I don't really have another question, but I do have one aspect of this that'll be really helpful with digital credentialing. A lot of our students, of course, a lot of institutions probably can share this as well. Somebody will graduate and they will want something stating their graduation, their degree being posted, basically. The transcript is a little bit of a delay when the degree gets posted, but with digital credentialing, you can say, okay, we're going to send this to you before the diploma prints in a couple of months. And if you apply for a job or anything like that, internship or anything, you have something that comes from the school that's official. And rather than having to request a letter of degree completion from the college or advisor or whatever. So that's one aspect that I really like about this. And when we University of Oklahoma implements this, it'll be great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you guys are going through implementation right now. Yeah. So and that's something we hear pretty often. I couldn't have said it better myself. Those students actually waiting for those printed diplomas, which sometimes takes weeks to get to them. So having some digital copy that kind of satiates that need in that period of time while they're waiting for their printed. Yeah.
I will say that our students, we use Parchment for transcript and diplomas, and I will say that our students love the electronic version. They get very excited.
That's
it's
good.
Fun we have an employee who gets theirs, and we can hear them yell down the hall.
That's awesome. I wish I had a digital diploma coming from my institution, but I didn't. But we're working on getting them to make the switch as well.
I had a question. If you, like most institutions, when the regents change and you update signatures, if there's students out there that you've already issued a diploma to and they have a hold, when you update those diplomas, does it update the ones that are on hold, or is that set?
Yeah, good question. So just so I understand, you're asking specifically when you need to update the signatures on the diploma. So when the students who are on hold, are they going to be able to have those updated changes made? Is that correct?
Well, technically at that point in time, those signatures are correct on those that they're issued. It would just be ones going forward.
Okay.
We're just wanting to make sure that the students that have that issued one out there that's on hold, that it stays consistent with what was issued.
Yeah, good question. So anything that's already been sent, and I hope I'm answering this correctly. So anything that's already been sent, just based off of your question, I hope I'm understanding it correctly. We won't be able to actually update any of that stagnant information on the diploma. So the signature, the seal, that's already been sent. But anything that's still on our end, let's say it's on hold, or anything from that end, it really is just a matter of notifying Parchment that we need to update those signatures. Once we notify Parchment, send those new signatures into Parchment, we'll have another template for you where you can actually, upload those new students into that template that has the accurate the signatures and all that new accurate information for the diplomas. Does that kind of help answer that? Or?
Well, and so basically the ones that are on hold, if I want to leave them with the signatures that they currently have, then I just don't move them to the new template. I just leave them where they're at.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, all really good questions.
This summer, our undergraduates, we had 168 that we issued, and within a couple of hours of me uploading those to Parchment, 152 had claimed their that electronic version. They hop on that quicker than anything I've seen. It's incredible. They do really, really love it.
Do you also include the phone number to send it to, or is it strictly the email? Okay,
yes,
awesome.
We do. And I do, I'm glad to hear that the students are going to be able to update their address and phone number. Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. It got really fuzzy on my end. And because right before I upload, I send out to the students, is this your correct phone number? Is this your correct email? And trying to catch those last minute, gather that information. So for them to also be able to add that information in and correct it will be fantastic.
And it's something that's, and I think this is what you're kind of touching on right now too, Kristen, something that's coming, and it's going to be in the pretty much any new institution moving forward, and any schools who are live with us right now, starting January, I believe it's going to be implemented, is when we're sending that digital diploma, we're actually going to ask them, is this the correct mailing address? So we recognize that so many institutions are having to either call the students or call in to actually update that mailing address. So in real time, which is helpful to students are moving all the time. So tracking down that actual mailing address, in real time for them is going to be helpful moving forward.
We're very excited and issued for that.
Good. That's good to hear. Great. So that's really all I had for today, and happy to take any more questions, but I did want to share this link. If you do have any more or questions, or want to start a discussion, feel free to visit this site here, and we can take those questions.
Okay, does anybody have anything else to add, or any other information, any other questions or anything? Okay, well, I'm sure appreciate everybody attending this session. Appreciate all the information we have. We're excited to have that option available at our institutions. It'll definitely change the way that credentialing is done. I mean, it's just going to improve it for the years to come. But I included the session survey in the chat here. So if anybody wishes to do that, to send to one of our Google forms, we can get the information that way. But if anybody doesn't have anything else,